There'll now be a moment for silent prayer or meditation. Thank you. You may be seated. Secretary will read the first order.
Resumption of debate on vote number 1, the Presidency. Reply by President, Appropriation Bill.
I will now invite the Honorable President to reply to the debate.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, Mr. Ndimudise, Deputy President, Tabete David Mabuza, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members, distinguished guests, and fellow South Africans. As the sun rose today in New Zealand, in Australia, in Asia, in Europe, in the Middle East, and on our own continent, people woke up to remember and celebrate the life of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela by performing a number of good deeds. As it sets on the islands of the Pacific Ocean, there will be millions more who will do the same. In doing so around the world, people are not only paying tribute to the contribution that Madiba made to the cause of humanity, they are also reaffirming through their actions the timeless values Madiba embodied, values such as unity, compassion, service, and solidarity. These are among the essential values that must guide us as a people, as leaders, and as public representatives, but also as a government. These are among the essential values that inform the work of the Presidency and which have underpinned this debate on Vote 1. I had the privilege of spending 67 minutes earlier today with children from the Red Cross Children's Hospital here in Cape Town. I was interviewed on Radio X that they run as children, a station that broadcasts from the hospital by Sadiq, Atule, and Talita, 3 inspiring children who bring hope, light, and joy to their listeners. I met several of the patients at the hospital, many of whom have a disability or chronic illness, who taught me about the meaning of the value of Mandela Day. Like Madiba, they have been confronted with great adversity, and like Madiba, they have remained hopeful and enthusiastic. They have retained what I would call an unwavering faith in humanity and have the potential to realize their dreams. I'm also delighted to know that a number of honorable members of this House also took time to celebrate Madiba's life and spend their 67 minutes doing one good deed or another. And the chief whip of the majority party has just told me that there were various groups that went to a number of schools in the surrounding townships and were able to hand out quite a number of essential items that young people need in their education. So we honor and celebrate honorable members who took time out to go and do good deeds. Honorable Speaker, I'm glad that nearly all the honorable members who took part in the debate yesterday in one way or another invoked the memory of Madiba in a very positive way. It demonstrates not only an abiding affection, but it also demonstrates recognition and respect for the great person that he was. But they also talked about not only his greatness, but his humanity. That also included a common identification by members who spoke here and what Madiba represented. Today, as we celebrate 101 years since Madiba's birth, we are challenged to ensure that we advance the vision of a free, democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, prosperous and just and united South Africa, to which Madiba dedicated his entire life. As we grapple with the challenges that are deeply rooted in our unjust and humiliating past, and as we confront problems our country currently faces, we must place the principle of unity at the center of all our efforts. For it is only through unity and what Madiba stood for, collaboration, that we will succeed in overcoming the challenges that our people and our country face. It is only through unity of purpose and unity in action that we will overcome troubles that may today seem intractable. Our country still carries the scars of a deeply fractured past. It is our shared responsibility to bridge the social and economic divide that still largely separates black and white, men and women, young and old, skilled and unskilled, urban and rural, included and excluded. As Honorable Dlakude reminds us, it is our shared responsibility to strive every day through our every action and pronouncement to build a united nation, a united South Africa. And I'm delighted that Honorable Maimane agrees with me that it is our shared responsibility to strive towards consensus on a program for fundamental transformation. It may at times seem that our society is becoming more fractious, that attitudes may be hardening on all sides, that we are becoming more and more of a divided society, and that inequality is becoming more entrenched. But ours is a clear mission to achieve a united nation. It is a mission from which we should not retreat. Indeed, it is at such moments that we must reaffirm our resolve and our intensity to move ahead with all the efforts that will build a united nation. Unity is not the same as conformity nor uniformity. As this budget vote debate has demonstrated, our desire for unity does not prevent a vigorous exchange of ideas. Rather, we should seek through dialogue and debate and honest engagement to achieve broad social consensus on the fundamental values that bind us together and the essential actions that we must undertake. This requires that we build trust and understanding, not just between black and white, but between employers and employees, between farm workers and farmers, between young and old, and between members of established communities as well as new arrivals. It requires that we address grievances where they arise and that we engage with those who feel alienated or excluded. We must recognize the value of building a South African identity that is more than the sum of its parts, where we reach across the boundaries of language and culture to forge new ways of expression. We were reminded this week of the groundbreaking work of artists like Johnny Clegg and Sipho Mchunu in challenging and transcending social barriers that they confronted in their lives. Like many who came before them and the many who have followed in their footsteps, they demonstrated the potential of collaboration and the power of an inclusive vision. They provided us with a glimpse of a new, better society where the equal worth of each person, of each culture, and of each language is respected and valued. Honorable members, at this moment of great economic difficulty, and as we confront worsening youth unemployment and deepening poverty, the unity and cohesion of our nation presents the most powerful means at our disposal to transform our economy. If we are united and indeed cohesive, if we work together and direct all our resources and efforts together, towards a common goal, we will be able to succeed. From the presidency, we are working to mobilize all of society, from business to labor, from public entities to civic organizations, from NGOs to political parties, behind an urgent, ambitious, and comprehensive program to grow the economy and to reduce poverty. Good news, such as the reduction of the repo rate by the central bank this afternoon, is what we can build on, and we hope much more will happen from the central bank. In the State of the Nation address and through the budget votes of the various departments, we have articulated the key elements of such a program. This program is firmly based on the electoral mandate we have received to grow South Africa together, and has been enriched by the contributions of various sections of society, including members in this very House. It builds on the progress we have made through our investment drive, through the agreements at the Job Summit, and in the implementation of key elements of the economic stimulus and recovery plan. We are increasing the breadth and depth of our engagement with all sectors of society in giving effect to this program, working to build meaningful partnerships that have a real and lasting impact. This is the collective action of which Madiba spoke and to which several honorable members have lent their support. Building the South Africa that we want means that we never ever lose sight of the impact of the past on the endeavors of today. There cannot be a lasting peace without justice, and in a country that still bears the scars of inequity and skewed development, there can be no peace without social justice. As much as our eyes are fixed on the horizon, we remain firm in our conviction that we have to make right the wrongs of the past. We have a constitutional duty to redress the imbalances of the past in all aspects of South African life, including the economy. Redress is not some call to a higher morality. It is in the interest of justice. So, Honorable Maimane, we are not going to scrap broad-based black economic empowerment, because it has brought real material benefits to black South Africans, to women and persons of disability. It has contributed to the significant growth of a black middle class, to improvements in employment equity, and it has enabled black people and women to become owners and managers of businesses. Whilst we acknowledge that the pace of change has been slow, it has not been insignificant. Far from abolishing it, now is actually the time to strengthen it, to make it more effective, and to ensure that it is aligned with our efforts to promote investment and increase employment. But it is clearly not enough. The pace of change has been slow, yes, but it has not been insignificant. Now is the time to ensure that we broaden the involvement and inclusion of all our people in various economic empowerment processes. It is essential that we are united as a nation in our determination to fight corruption. In the last 18 months, working together, we have made significant advances in tackling corruption and ending the capture of our public institutions. But the struggle is far from won. The road ahead will be long and it will be difficult. We will continue to encounter resistance from those who have benefited from acts of criminality and wrongdoing. As a society, as public representatives, as individual citizens, we must stand firm. We must keep our nerve. We must maintain our resolve. Through our actions and through our utterances, we must reinforce the rule of law and show respect for due process. We will continue to together ensure that our institutions are independent, they are impartial, and that those institutions are given the task, of safeguarding our democracy. We will continue to accord them the necessary respect and dignity. We will continue to take decisive action to strengthen the ability of law enforcement agencies to effectively execute their constitutional mandate without fear, favor, or prejudice, and then to ensure that they are properly resourced. It is these institutions that must investigate allegations of corruption and state capture, and where required, they are the institutions that must prosecute those who are responsible. This cannot and should not and must not be the responsibility of the presidency. Our responsibility is to give these institutions the means, the space, and the capability to do their work. And that is precisely what we have been able to do, and we will continue to do precisely that. It is their job, and I've said this over and over. Obviously, as South Africans, we have expectations. We want to see action being taken speedily without delay. But I urge all of us to allow these institutions the time and the space to do their work. The presidency cannot interfere in any shape or way whatsoever in the work that these institutions are doing. So if you expect that the president will go out and arrest those who are implicated for corruption or some other act, it is not going to happen. It will be done by those institutions. They are the institutions who have the power and authority in terms of our laws. We welcome the firm support expressed by Honorable Holomisa for the work being done by the Zondo Commission into state capture and the Commission into the PIC. The work of these commissions is absolutely necessary if we are to decisively end state capture and effectively fight corruption. And we call on all South Africans to give these institutions support. It is for that reason that I have stated publicly on several occasions, and in replies to parliamentary questions from none other than Honorable Maina and Honorable Lekota, that I am available and ready to testify before the Zondo Commission. That I am able and willing to do. And it is an affirmation that I reiterate today here in this House. The fight against corruption will not be successful unless all South Africans are involved. We need to forge a broad coalition against corruption that draws together formations and individuals from across society and that empowers citizens to act and see justice being done. The same goes for fighting crime in our country. We need to get all our people involved in fighting criminality. The extraordinary attack by Honorable Malema on Minister Gordon requires a response. It is a fundamental tenet of our democratic constitutional order that no person, no matter what position they hold, is above the law. No person is above scrutiny. Every person must answer for their actions. That includes the President, that includes Honorable Gordon, that includes even Honorable Malema. By the same measure, every person is equal before the law and must have recourse to the law. Every person must be able to enforce their rights, whether that means approaching the courts or any other competent authority. I'm in no position, Honorable Malema, to express a view on the findings that the Public Protector has made against Minister Gordon. That is a matter that is now before the courts. But I can express a view on the character of the minister and the contribution he has made to the liberation of our country. I have appointed him to a critical and demanding position in cabinet because I know him to be a person of commitment and integrity. He has endured and withstood extreme pressure, both under apartheid and in the democratic era. He's been under pressure to abandon principle and to forsake his responsibility to this nation. If Minister Gordon or any member of this administration has anything to answer for, they must be held to account without exception. They must, yes, be hauled before any court, and they must go and answer. And in that regard, I will be saying to him, go and answer before a court of law. But allow that determination to be made by an appropriate judicial institution. After due process, let the law take its course. This is what our Constitution demands. We are united in our desire to see a society free of crime and violence. We need to be similarly united in our efforts to build such a society. There can be no meaningful progress until the police work more closely with communities, until government agencies collaborate and share information more effectively, and until individuals take responsibility for their actions. It is important that members of our community, where crime occurs, should be the first to come forward and work with the police. I will relate a story here that just shows how even leaders of various political parties here have been able to take action and work with our security agencies. Honorable Malema calls me one day and he says, President, in a particular area where I visited as a party leader, there's a gangster who is holding the entire community hostage. And he extorts money from this community, and he's just wreaking havoc. And he says, President, something has to be done about this fellow. And I took that to heart. I immediately applauded Honorable Malema, And I contacted the Minister of Police and I said, you need to go to this community. And thank you very much, Honorable Malema, for having done that, because that was a civic duty. But it led to the minister going to this community, holding a meeting with the community, a large meeting for that matter. And during the course of this meeting, there was only one brave person, Honorable Malema, who was able to stand up and tell the minister that there's one criminal in the whole township who is terrorizing everyone. And he was brave and courageous enough to stand up in a meeting and mention his name. You and I know his name. And everybody applauded because they knew. Members of our community know who the criminals are. And we now call upon them to act like Honorable Malema, to act like that person who stood up in the meeting and say what is happening in their communities. So I applaud you, Honorable. No, he was not a whistleblower. He was just doing his civic duty, and I thank Honorable Malema for that. The criminal was immediately arrested, and he's incarcerated, and peace has descended in that community. Now, as part of an integrated approach to tackling the most extreme incidents of violent crime, I have authorized the employment of members of the South African National Defence Force to assist the South African police in the prevention and combating of crime in this province. As required by our Constitution, I have been in correspondence with the Speaker of the National Assembly and the chairperson of the NCOP with regards to the South African National Defence Force deployment in certain areas in the Western Cape. The SANDF members will be deployed to support the police to restore law and order in communities that are being terrorized by gangsterism. We need to save lives. Let us be clear that the SANDF is not the defense force of old. It's not an apartheid type of defense force. Defense force of old was the defense force that went into our townships and used our people, young people, as targets for shooting. This is the defense force of a democratic South Africa, a defense force that has been involved in peacekeeping operations in various parts of the continent and which has played a critical role in supporting the South African police in similar crime-fighting operations. We had one such in Gauteng, which we call Operation Fiela. The South African National Defence Force participated with the police, and they did sweep the criminals out. And ultimately, the success of this effort depends on the cooperation and contributions of many within various organs of the state, within civil society, and within the affected communities. On the issue of gender-based violence and femicide, we agree with Honorable Prince Buthelezi that the women of this country are facing a war. This is why we have been hard at work, together with our social partners, to implement the declaration arising from the Presidential Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Summit that was held last year. Amongst other things, we are establishing an additional 16 sexual offenses courts in this financial year to bring the total to 95. Work is underway to physically map the Tutuzela Centers for Survivors of Gender-Based Violence to ensure that they reach the areas most affected by such crimes. The Department of Social Development has received 50 million from the Criminal Assets Recovery Account to strengthen civil society organizations working in the victim empowerment field. So work is being done, progress is being made, but there is still much more that needs to be done. And we need to do so to bring an end to this scourge. As if to underline the great need to build trust and understanding within our society, the Honorable Groenewald asks, when, as the president of this country, am I going to condemn farm murders? The question is a measure of the distance we still need to travel as a nation towards effective reconciliation and the appreciation of the equal worth of every life in our country. It is a measure of the inability of some within our society to see beyond the ethnic enclaves of our past. As a matter of record, on the 2nd November 2018, in reply to a parliamentary question, I said the following: throughout South Africa, violent crime is a matter of serious concern, regardless of where it occurs or to whom it affects. We strongly, I continued, condemn all murders in our country, including of farmers and farm workers. And I said, we are committed to do everything possible to defend every citizen of our country, regardless of where they live or where they work, from all forms of violence. I do, and I have and will continue to condemn murders on farms, when farmers are killed and when farm workers are also killed. I will continue to condemn them. Every life in this country has equal value, and every murder, every violent crime must be equally and unequivocally condemned. Honorable Groenewald, elke lewe in hierdie land het 'n gelyke waarde en elke moord en elke geweld misdaad moet sonder onderskeid en veroordeel word. Now, honorable members, a principle that is fundamental to our celebration of Nelson Mandela Day is that of solidarity. The willingness of those who have to share with those who do not have. That is solidarity. In a country of severe inequality, where a life of deprivation was the direct and intended consequence of a life of privilege, the practice of solidarity has a profound and a practical meaning. We share a moral imperative to confront inequality as well as poverty by directing our national resources towards the poor. For the past 25 years, we have pursued a pro-poor fiscal policy where our national revenue has been directed towards education, healthcare, towards low-income housing, towards social grants, towards public employment programs. It is the principle of solidarity which informs our approach to the NHI as well, ensuring that the substantial resources that are directed towards health care benefit all South Africans equally. Solidarity in the end takes many forms. It is about the established white farmer providing support for emerging black farmers by sharing skills, experience, expertise, equipment, as well as access to markets. And I'm pleased to say that there are quite a number of farmers who are doing precisely that, but it is not enough. It is about the experienced business person who takes time to mentor young entrepreneurs or university graduates who establish a bursary fund to assist deserving students from poor families. Solidarity is about confronting, as a society, the many ways in which so many of our people are excluded and marginalized. It is about a comprehensive program of land reform that places assets and economic opportunities in the hands of those who do not have land. It is, as the Deputy President observes, about providing young black South Africans with the skills they need to thrive in a modern, globally interconnected, an integrated competitive economy. It is about the contribution that businesses are making towards preparing young people for employment through work experience and training. Now, despite the difficulties of the present moment, we are hopeful for the future. Day by day, against difficult and great odds, our young people are being given the space to reach out. They're being given pathways to succeed. Young people like Siya Kuza, who dreamt of rockets as a boy, then went on to invent them and has a planet that has been named after him. Those are the young people who are winners in our country. Young people like Vuyo Mavuya and Vuyolwe Tunkomo, who rode rickety bicycles in the streets of Khayelitsha as youngsters and are now off to prepare to compete in the Tour de France. Young people like our star soprano, Priti Yende, who is making her mark in concert halls in Italy, in London, in New York, and around the world. And Bonolo Matibela, a research scientist whose work is now affiliated to the multinational giant IBM. These are the 20 students from Nova Pioneer High School in Ormonde who built a plane for themselves in just 10 days and who flew the plane to Cairo. Now today, we have young people who have taken up seats in this parliament and who've been appointed ministers and deputy ministers. The young people of our national netball team, the Proteas, who thanks to an outstanding performance have advanced to the semi-finals of the Netball World Cup in England. This country's young people are breaking barriers everywhere as innovators, as scientists, as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, as artists, yes, as deputy ministers, as parliamentarians. We need to give them more and more space. Honorable Buthelezi asks a very important question about the increase in the presidency budget for consultants. This budget item, Honorable Buthelezi, relates to the Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearers, which is housed in the Presidency. Now, the Commission, which determines our salaries through various legislation passed by this very Parliament, has assumed increased responsibilities without the accompanying budget to increase staff in its secretariat. The only viable option left for the Commission is to do its work by bringing in external expertise and by bringing in consultants. That is what has led to money and more money being spent on consultants. The ideal way of enabling the Commission to do its work as mandated by Parliament is to vote sufficient funds to hire sufficient staff to enable the Commission to carry out what currently amounts to an unfunded mandate. We agree with Minister De Lille when she says there are good men and women to be found in every city, in every town, in every village across our land who want to contribute to fixing our country. This is indeed our experience. As Madiba once observed, our country is replete with men and women of goodwill. This is the South Africa we all know, a land of talented, enthusiastic, generous, compassionate, honest people who seek nothing more than a better future for themselves and their compatriots. These are the people who embody the values of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. These are the people who bear his legacy. And these are the people who will build the South Africa that we all want. And many of those people are sitting here in this Parliament. And all I'd like to say as I conclude, let us be those people who are committed and determined to build the South Africa that we all want, the South Africa that we all deserve. Let us rise to the occasion as members of this Parliament and ensure that indeed we do build that South Africa and interact at close range in a very practical and proactive manner, in a very positive manner, to bring forward proposals and suggestions. And even as we ask the questions, just as Honorable Prince Buthelezi asked, there should be questions that will evoke the answers that will enable to shed light on what is happening. I call on all of us to come forward. We are the brains trust of this nation. Housed in this building are people of diverse backgrounds, enormous talent, enormous wisdom, who are meant to contribute to South Africa going forward. I therefore call on all of us, let us, in a very positive way, make South Africa a great nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Secretary will read the second order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on Budget Vote 21, Justice and Constitutional Development.
I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I move for adoption of this report.
Thank you, ma'am. The motion is that this report be adopted. Is there any objection? The Honorable Mkalibi?
Yes, Speaker. Please register the objection of the EFF.
The objection of the EFF is registered. The Honorable Steenhuisen?
Madam Speaker, please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
The objection of the Democratic Alliance is noted.
Please note the objection of the ACDP.
The objection of the ACDP is noted. Honorable members, is there any other objection? The objection of the EFF, the TA, and the ACDP have been noted. I then take it that this report has been adopted. Thank you very much. The third order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on Budget Vote 22, Office of the Chief Justice and Judicial Administration.
The Chief Whip.
Somlomo obekekileyo ndiphakamisa kule ndlu into yoba mayamkelwe le ngxelo.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this report? No? There being no objection, this motion has been agreed to. The fourth order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on Budget Vote 18, Correctional Services.
Chief Whip.
Modula stulo ke tsitsinya hore report ena e amohelwe ke ntlo.
Ke a leboga, mme. Is there any objection? The EFF.
Yes, Speaker. Please note the objection of the EFF.
The objection of the EFF is noted. Ndate Swarts.
Please note the objection of the ACDP. Thank you.
The objection of the ACDP is noted. Is there any other objection? None. With those objections noted, the report has been agreed to. The fifth order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Basic Education on Budget Vote 14, Basic Education.
Me Sime Sekgolo.
Ke tsitsinya hape hore tlaelo ena e amohelwe ke ntlo.
Ke a leboga, mme. Are there any objections to this report? The EFF.
Yes, Speaker, please note the objection of the EFF.
The objection of the EFF is noted. Is there any other objection? None. The objection of the EFF is noted. The report has been agreed to. The sixth order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation on budget vote 36, Water and Sanitation, 2019-2030 strategic plan, and annual performance plan of Department of Water and Sanitation.
Thank you. The Honorable, the Chief Whip.
Phakamisa somlomo bekekileyo ukuba nale ingxelo mayamkelwe yile ndlu.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this report? None. This report has been agreed to. The Secretary will read the seventh order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans on budget vote 19, Defense and Military Veterans.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I move for the adoption of this report.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this report, the EFF?
Yes, Speaker, we object on this one.
The objection of the EFF is noted. Is there any other objection on this report? None. The objection of the EFF is noted. The report is therefore adopted. The next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Environment, Forestry and Fisheries on strategic plan 2019-20 to 2023-24, annual performance plans 2019-20, and budget vote 27 of Department of Environmental Affairs.
Thank you, sir. The Honorable, the Chief Whip of the Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I hereby move that this report be adopted. Thank you.
Is there an objection? The
Madam-
EFF is recognized.
We object, Speaker.
The objection of the EFF is
Madam
noted.
Speaker, please note
Honorable
the
DA.
objection of the DA.
The objection of the DA is noted. Is there any other objection to the report? None. The objection of the DA and the EFF are noted. This report has therefore been agreed to. The ninth order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Police on 2019-20 budget, annual performance plans, and 2017 to 2021 strategic plan of private security industry regulatory authority.
I now recognize the Chief Whip.
Mme modulasetulo ke kopa hore ntlo ena e amohele tlaleho ena.
Ke a leboga, mme. Is there any objection? The Honorable Mkalipi.
Yes, we object, Speaker.
The EFF objection is noted. Is there any other party objecting? None. The objection of the EFF is noted. The report is therefore adopted. The 10th order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry on budget vote 25, economic development and budget vote 34, trade and industry.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, I move for adoption of this report. Thank you.
Objections, the EFF.
Somlomo, sir, object.
Noted. The DA.
Madam Speaker, please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
Noted. Is there any other party objecting?
ACDP, thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. The objection of the ACDP, the DA, and the EFF are noted. The report has been agreed to. The 11th order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Health on budget vote number 16 and annual performance plan of Department of Health.
Ke a leboga. The Honorable, the Chief Whip.
Ndiyabulela somlomo ndiphakamisa into yoba le ngxelo mayamkelwe yile ndlu enkosi.
Thank you. Is there any objection to this report? The Honorable Mkalipi.
EFF object, Speaker.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other objection? The objection of the EFF is noted. The report has been agreed to. The 12th order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development on budget vote 31 of Department of Small Business Development for financial year 2019-20.
Merci, Ms. Mkhulu.
Honorable Speaker, I move for the adoption of this report. Thank you.
Is there any objection to this report? None. There are no objections, therefore the report has been agreed to. The 13th order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development on Budget Vote 39, Rural Development and Land Reform.
Okay, I recognize the Chief Whip of the majority.
Honorable Speaker, I move for adoption of this report. Thank you.
Is there any objection?
We object, Speaker.
That is noted. The Honorable Stenays.
Madam Speaker, please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other objection from any other party? The objection of the EFF and the Democratic Alliance is noted. The report has been agreed to. Can we move on to the next order? It is 14.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development on 2019-20 Annual Performance Plan and Budget of Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Vote 24 and entities.
Is there any objection? Chief Whip of the majority party.
Inkomo Speaker, anikumbela kuri ndlule iamukela report.
He can seal it. Is there any objection to this report?
Yes, we object, Speaker.
The EFF objects. Is there any other party that objects to this report? The objection of the EFF is noted. Therefore, the report has been agreed to. Can we move to the next order, please?
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation on Budget Vote 6, International Relations and Cooperation.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the majority party.
Honorable Speaker, I move for adoption of this report. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection? The EFF?
Yes, Speaker, we object.
The objection is noted. Is there any other party objecting? None. The objection of the EFF is noted. The report has been agreed to. We move on to the next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises on Budget Vote 9, Public Enterprises and Annual Performance Plan for 2019-20 of Department of Public Enterprise.
Somlo.
Nikombela kuri ndlulena iamukela report.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection to this?
Honorable Speaker, we reject this report and call for the division of the House.
Thank you very much. Is there any other party that is objecting? None. A division has been called for, and therefore the House will divide. The bells will be rung for 5 minutes. The bells will be rung for 5 minutes.
Asibel.
Honorable members, the House is back in order. The House is back in order. Thank you very much. Honorable members, please take your seats. Honorable members, a division having been called for, the bells have been rung. I would like to remind members now that they may only vote from their allocated seats. And when requested to do so, members must simply indicate their votes by pressing the appropriate button. If a member inadvertently presses the wrong button, the member may thereafter press the correct button. The last button pressed will be recorded as the member's vote when the voting session is closed. The question before the House is that the report of the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises be adopted. Are all the members in their seats? Thank you. Voting will now commence. Those in favor of the report should press the yes button. Those who are against the report should press the no button. Those wishing to abstain should press the abstain button. Have all the members voted? The voting is now closed. The Honorable Gwede, the gadget doesn't work. Honorable members, can I have order, please? The results are in. Those who voted yes, 274. Those who voted no, 32. Those who abstained, 2. The question has therefore been agreed to. Can we move on to the 17th order, please?
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Social Development on budget vote 17 and annual performance plans of Department of Social Development and entities for 2019-20.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Ek stel voor die verslag moet aanvaar word. Dank u.
Onstanki. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the EFF. Wursukni.
The objection of the EFF has been noted. Thank you, members. Is there any other objection to the report? None. The objection of the EFF has been noted, and therefore the report has been agreed to. Order, members. We continue to order number 18.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Sport, Arts and Culture on budget vote 40, Sport and Recreation.
I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, ndikoumbela uri mubingo yoyu utanganedziwe.
Re a leboga. Are there any objections? The Honorable Mkalipi.
Speaker, Arigudi.
The objection of the EFF is noted. Is there any other party? The objection of the EFF, order, members. Order.
Please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, sir. The objection of the Democratic Alliance and the EFF are noted. The report has been agreed to. We move on to the 19th order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Sport, Arts and Culture on vote 37, Department of Arts and Culture.
The Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Nkosi somlomo ndiyaphakamisa into yoba le ndlu yowisomthetho noqingqo lwayo wamkele le ngxelo.
Are there any objections? The EFF?
Asizi.
The objection of the EFF is noted. The DA?
Madam Speaker, please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
The objection of the Democratic Alliance is noted. Is there any other party? Honorable members, the objection of the EFF and the objection of the DA have been noted. The report is accordingly agreed to. The Secretary will read the 20th order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Police 2019-20 budget, annual performance plan of Civilian Secretariat for Police Services.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, ke tsitsinya hore ntlu ena ya moele tlaelo yena.
Re a leboga mme. Is there any objection?
Sir, objector, Speaker.
The objection of the EFF has been noted. Is there any other party wishing to object? None. The objection of the EFF has been noted. The report has been agreed to. The 21st order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Police on budget vote 20, performance plan, and 2015-16, 2019-20, strategic plan of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate.
The Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, nikumbela kuri ndlu iamukela report.
Is there any objection to this report?
We didn't hear her, but we object anyway.
The objection of the EFF is noted. Is there any other party objecting to this report? None. The objection of the EFF is noted. The report has been agreed to. The 22nd order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Police on budget vote 23, annual performance plans of the Department of Police.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Speaker, we move for the adoption of this report. Thank you.
Is there any objections to this report being adopted? The Honorable Ndlozi?
Yes, kumbuka kinga ya EFF. That's Swahili, y'all.
The objection of the EFF has been noted. Is there any other party wishing to object? None. The objection of the EFF being noted, the report has been agreed to. The 23rd order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Communications on Budget Vote 32, Telecommunication and Postal Services.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, siyaphakamisa into yoba mawamkelwe le ngxelo njengoko injalo.
Is there any objection for this report, the Honorable Mkalipi?
Asivumi tu.
Siyabonga Mama, the objections of the EFF has been noted. Is there any other party wishing to object? None. We note the objections of the EFF. The report has been agreed to. The Honorable Zulu, the Minister.
Honorable Speaker, mimi nataka kubuza. Honorable Ndlozi objected in Kiswahili. Firstly, that Kiswahili was wrong. Secondly, it means there's no objection from their side.
Prove. Ndugu wangu, Madam Speaker. Ajui Swahili meo. Katongo.
Honorable members, no order. Now we know where you were, and we accept that you are disagreeing about a language you once visited. We now wish to proceed. The objection of the EFF was noted because they stood up when an objection was called for and said something. In future, I will make sure that I understand there's something they say.
You must wear the things of translation.
Honorable members, we are on the order 24.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Communications on Budget Vote 3, Communications.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, we move for adoption of this report.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection? The Honorable, the EFF, the Honorable, the DA.
Yes, please note the objection of the EFF, Speaker.
Noted.
I'll do it in English in case Idi Amin objects to my objection. The Democratic Alliance objects.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Just changed your agenda. I must apologize for that. Honorable members, the objections from the EFF and the objection from the DA have been noted. The report has been agreed to. The 25th order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Tourism on Budget Vote number 33, Tourism.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Madam Speaker, ek stel voor die verslag moet aanvaar word.
Is there any objection to this report? The Honorable Mkalipi?
Speaker, uonsuk ni.
Danke, mevrouw. Is there any other party that is objecting? None. The objection of the EFF is noted. The report has been agreed to. The 26th order of today.
Consideration of report of Standing Committee on Finance on Budget Vote 7, National Treasury.
The Honorable, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Ngiyabonga Somlomo, ngicela ukuphakamisa ukuthi lo mbiko wamukelwe.
Is there any objection to this report? The Honorable Mkalipi?
Yes, Speaker, we object.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other party wishing to object? None. We note the objection of the EFF. The report has been agreed to. The 27th order of today.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs on Annual Performance Plans and Budget Vote 5 of Department of Home Affairs.
Thank you, ma'am. The Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Somlomo, ngicela ukuthi lo mbiko wamukelwe.
Make somlo. Asivumi na kancane ayikho le. Siyabonga.
The objection of the EFF has been noted. Is there any other objection from any other party? None. The objection of the EFF has been noted. The report has been agreed to. The 28th order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration, as well as planning, monitoring and evaluation on Budget Vote 8, planning, monitoring and evaluation.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, I move for adoption. Thank you.
Is there any objection to this report? The Honorable Mkalipi?
Yes, we object to Mpikwa's department.
Or Honorable Mkalipi, it's not his department, but we note the objection of the EFF. Is there any other party wishing to object? None? We note the objection of the EFF. The report has been agreed to. We move on to the 29th order of today.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration, as well as planning, monitoring and evaluation on budget vote 10, public service and administration.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Mme modulasetulo re tsitsinya hore tlaelo ena le yona e amohelwe ke ntlo ena.
Is there any objection to this report? None. The report has therefore been agreed to. We move on to the next order of the day, the 30th order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Public Service Administration, as well as planning, monitoring and evaluation on budget vote 12, statistics South Africa.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, we ikombela kuri report lena iamukeliwa.
Is there any objection to this report? None. The report has been agreed to. The 31st order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, Science and Technology on budget vote 15, higher education and training.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Ke phahamisa ka hara ntlo ena, Honorable Speaker, hore tlaelo ena le yona e amohelwe ke ntlo.
Are there any objections?
Yes, Speaker, no to plate, no.
The objection of the EFF on the report has been noted. The Honorable Steenhuisen.
Madam Speaker, please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
The objection of the Democratic Alliance is noted. Is there any other party? None. The objections of the EFF and the Democratic Alliance have been noted. The report has been agreed to. The 32nd order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities on annual performance plan, budget vote 13 of the Department of Women in the Presidency and Commission for Gender Equality for financial year 2019-2020.
Merci, merci, Khulu.
Honorable Speaker, we move for adoption of this report.
Is there any objection? The Honorable.
We object, Speaker, no way.
The objection of the EFF is noted. Is there any other party objecting? None. We note that objection of the EFF, the report has been agreed to. The 33rd order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs on annual performance plan and budget of the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs.
The Honorable, the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Somlomo siphakamisa into yoba mayamkelwe le ngxelo.
Are there objections?
Somlomo siyaphika.
The objections of the EFF have been noted. Is there any other party objecting? The objections of the EFF have been considered, noted. The report is agreed to. The next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure on budget vote 11, Public Works, Property Management, Trading Entity and entities reporting to the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure.
The Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. We move for adoption of this report.
Is there any objection to this report? None. The report has been agreed to. We move on to the next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labor on budget vote 28, Labor Strategic Plan of Department and Annual Performance Plan of the Department 2019-2020.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Modulasetulo ke kopa hore le yona tlaleo ena e amohelwe ke ntlo ena.
Is there any objection to this report?
Yes, Speaker, Tulas must fall.
The objection of the EFF is noted. The Honorable Steenhuisen.
Honorable Speaker.
You are on your feet, sir?
No, Honorable Speaker, I'm rising on Rule 82 We cannot refer each other on first name terms, please. The atmosphere must be cordial, but we must respect the rules of this House. Thank you.
Thank you. The order members, I have to rule. Honorable members, the Honorable Tulas is Honorable Ngesi in the House. Can he be accordingly respected? Honorable Malema, on what point are you rising?
Ore muti mo ngwaneng, mood. Read the mood.
Thank you, sir. That was not a point of order. Honorable Steyn-Eisen.
Madam Speaker, please note the objection of the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, sir. The objection of the EFF, the objection of the Democratic Alliance are noted. The report has been agreed to. The next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation on Budget Vote 38, Human Settlements, Strategic Plan for Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, period, and Annual Performance Plan 2019-2020.
Thank you, ma'am. I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, we move for adoption of this report. Thank you.
Is there any objection to this report? None. The report has been agreed to. The next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, Science and Technology on Budget Vote 30, Science and Technology 2019-2020.
The Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, we move for adoption of this report.
Is there any objection? The Honorable Mkalipi.
We reject, Speaker.
The objection of the EFF is noted. Is there any other party? The objection of the EFF is noted. The report has been agreed to. The next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy on Annual Performance Plan for 2019-2020 and Budget Vote number 26 of Department of Energy.
Thank you, ma'am. The Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honorable Speaker, ndikoumbela uri mubingo woyu utanganedziwe.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? The Honorable Mkalipi.
Speaker, Arituti, we object.
Raleboga mme. The objection of the EFF is noted. Is there any other party objecting? None. The objection of the EFF having been noted, the report has been agreed to. The next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy. Oh. Yeah. Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources and Energy on Annual Performance Plan for 2019-2020 and Budget Vote 29 of Department of Mineral Resources.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Somlomo obuyekekileyo siphakamisa into yoba le ndlu yowiso-mthetho noqingqo lwayo mayamkele le ngxelo.
Is there any objection? The Honorable Mkalipi.
Hayi ngeke, Speaker, abantu basexholobeni bengasibulala, we refused.
The objection of the EFF is noted. The report has been agreed to. The next order, please.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Transport on Budget Vote 35, Transport.
I recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Somlomo siphakamisa kuthi lo mbiko wamkelwe.
Siyaphika somlomo. Sithi cha.
The objection of the EFF is noted. No other party is objecting, therefore the report has been agreed to. I now proceed and recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, the Deputy Chief Whip.
Thanks, Honorable Speaker. I move that the House, in terms of Rule 253, subsection Rule 6, Sub-Rule 6, revive the ad hoc committee established for the purposes of briefing members prior to the debate on Vote 7, National Treasury, State Security, in order to receive briefings on matters related to defense and crime intelligence. The committee continued to have the same composition, membership and powers, including that it conduct its proceedings in closed session in terms of Rule 184 subsection 1B3. And members conduct their functions in a manner consistent with the protection of national security and cease to exist upon the adoption of the appropriations bill. I so move.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any objection to this motion? None? There being no objection, the motion has been agreed to. Honorable members, you will be happy to know that that concludes the business of the day and that this House is adjourned.
Mkalepe, you have butchered our African languages. We have butchered. This parliament was a butchery today of our languages. Kalip.
Jackson,
Angikhulumi nawe wena, Karti.